All right, let's just dive right into this explainer because today we are looking at something absolutely wild, biological immortality. For centuries, humans have written these massive epics and science fiction stories about the fountain of youth and the ultimate quest to live forever. But while we've been dreaming up magical potions and futuristic tech, nature quietly went ahead and actually solved the problem. Today, we're unpacking the science behind a creature that defies the single most fundamental rule of life, the rule that everything has to grow old.
I mean, think about it for a second. What if aging wasn't just a one-way street? We are entirely hardwired to view biology as a straight line, right? You're born, you grow up, you age, and eventually the cycle ends. But imagine an organism that can literally hit the rewind button. Imagine a creature that, when faced with extreme danger, starvation, or a toxic environment, can just turn back the hands of time and start its life completely over again.
Well, meet Turritopsis dohrnii. Most people just call it the immortal jellyfish, and for very good reason. With its elegant, almost alien-looking structure, it holds a totally unique title on Earth. It is the only known creature capable of fully reversing its life cycle. It doesn't just pause the aging process, it actively reverses it, shrinking back down into a juvenile state just to escape death.
So let's get into Section 1, Anatomy of a Marvel, and look at the specs of this incredible survivor. Now, to really appreciate this superpower, you have to realize just how humble this little guy actually is. When you hear the words immortal being, you probably picture some giant, ancient leviathan lurking in the deep abyss. But this godlike survivor is incredibly tiny. We're talking 4 to 5 millimeters across, literally the size of a single grain of rice. It's classified as a hydrozoa, it munches on plankton, but its true defining feature is a mind-bending biological superpower called transdifferentiation. In its adult form, which scientists call the Medusa stage, it has this completely transparent bell-like structure. Right in the center, you can clearly see the reproductive organs, and trailing behind are its stinging tentacles. Now, for any normal jellyfish, reaching this fully mature state means that it's at the end of the line.
Which brings us to Section 2, Reversing the Life Cycle. This is its ultimate defense mechanism.
Because, as you might have guessed, the immortal jellyfish is anything but normal. Obviously, being a speck in a massive ocean means you are going to face a ton of threats. Sure, it has stinging tentacles to fend off small predators or to catch a quick snack, but its main survival tactic, it's totally different. When this jellyfish faces severe environmental stress, we're talking physical damage, starvation, or drastic temperature changes, it doesn't just fight and it doesn't flee. It survives by physically reversing its life cycle. Okay, here's exactly how this step-by-step process plays out. When the adult Medusa gets stressed, its bell and tentacles actually start to break down and deteriorate. It sinks right down to the ocean floor and reverts into this blob-like cyst. And from that cyst, it grows back into a polyp, which is the infant stage of a jellyfish. It's kind of like a butterfly deciding that the weather is just a bit too rough, so it chooses to turn back into a caterpillar and hide out in a chrysalis to wait for a better day. Eventually, from this polyp stage, it will bud and release completely new, genetically identical medusas. It literally resets its entire existence.
Let's move on to Section 3, the science of transdifferentiation and how it resets the biological clock.
To understand how this Benjamin Button trick actually works, we have to zoom way down to the microscopic cellular level. The secret lies in that word we mentioned earlier, transdifferentiation. In human biology, once a cell becomes a heart cell or a skin cell, its destiny is locked in forever. But for the immortal jellyfish, its mature cells, like its stomach and bell cells, can undergo a radical transformation. They completely reprogram themselves into totally different cell types, basically rebuilding the organism from scratch. I mean, talk about an unparalleled evolutionary cheat code. By essentially resetting the whole organism, it ensures that its specific genetic traits survive pretty much any catastrophe. As long as it isn't completely eaten or instantly destroyed, it can just hit that reset button, wait out the bad times, and begin life anew.
All right, Section 4, Global Habitat and Ecosystem. Where do these creatures actually live?
Now, you might be wondering, wait, if they never die of old age, aren't they just taking over the oceans by now? Well, it turns out they are incredibly widespread. You will find them distributed across vast stretches of the world's oceans, prominently in temperate to tropical waters. Fun fact, because they can survive as a resting polyp in the ballast water of massive cargo ships, they've been able to hitchhike globally, spreading far beyond their original home in the Mediterranean. But here is the exact reason why we aren't totally drowning in immortal jellyfish. Immortal just means they don't die of old age. It definitely doesn't mean they're invincible.
At 5 millimeters wide, they are still a highly nutritious snack for a passing fish. They serve as essential plankton for larger predators and play a really vital role in nutrient recycling. So they might be biological marvels, but they're still very much a mortal piece of the oceanic food web.
And that brings us to Section 5, Conclusion, the 5 millimeter mystery.
So, what does this whole 5 millimeter mystery actually teach us? I think we've solidly debunked the myth of magical immortality today. We've completely replaced the sci-fi tropes with the rigorously tested, mind-blowing reality of cellular life cycle reversal. True biological immortality really does exist. It's the size of a pencil eraser, and it is currently out there, floating in our oceans, constantly recycling its own cells to cheat death.
I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. If a tiny, seemingly simple jellyfish has evolved the complex genetic machinery to successfully reset its own biological clock, what other secrets are our oceans hiding? Understanding Turritopsis dohrnii isn't just a quirky animal fact to bring up at parties. It might honestly be the very first step in helping humanity understand the true biological limits of aging. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking those big questions, and I'll catch you next time.